This is Visiblepreneur, the podcast for entrepreneurs and brands the entrepreneur, from local to worldwide, and how they became the better person they are today. And here's your host, the Isaiah Bentley. All right, guys, welcome to another one of Visiblepreneur. As always, got another nice one for you. So this guy right here, for those that's watching visually, this is Dave Peterson. He's with, what was your company name again?
Multiple Choice Insurance.
Yes, Multiple Choice Insurance. And he's the guy that you call Dave and save. So we're definitely going to have a good discussion about this. So before we get in, first we got to thank our sponsor, Rich Johns with Pure Solution Environmental Services. He's your certified remediator, certified mechanical hygienist, and certified indoor environmentalist. Remember, he's the fun guy that removes your fungi. So give him a call if you need your house tested, 636-791-3022. Fun guy removes that fungi. So with that being said, Dave, I got to thank you for hopping on Visiblepreneur.
Man, thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. So tell us, how did you get into this world of pretty much insurance?
Yeah. So I've been in the insurance world my entire professional career. Started out as a property adjuster, and I learned a tremendous amount, in that role. So essentially, imagine anything that could go wrong with your house. And we'll use some more common examples. So, a storm comes through and you've got hail damage to your roof, or your basement floods, or, let's say your house burns to the ground. I would essentially come out and shake your hand, write you a big check, and basically come up with a plan to help you return to a normal life. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the frustrating parts about that role is I would have to tell people no sometimes. That's a very difficult thing to do, especially when you're talking about damage that's $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 sometimes. That's life-changing for people.
Oh, yeah.
And I in a lot of these circumstances, had the agent had the right conversations up front, they would have had coverage, and we'd be having a much different conversation. So I began to think, what better person to be able to set someone's coverage up and talk to them than myself. I've been living it for 10 years, and I felt that I was in a great position to be able to do that. So I went home and talked to my wife, and I said, hey, I'm thinking about leaving my job and taking a pay cut and going to work for an agent to get the skills necessary to then fulfill my dream, which is owning my own agency. And she didn't bat an eye. She said, go for it. You're going to kill it.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's not very often that someone can support that. So yeah, that's awesome.
So just like that, I left, and I went to go work for a very successful agent here in St. Louis to really hone my skills and get the product knowledge that I needed to be a successful agency owner. And I had a lot of success, had a lot of great feedback from my customers. And then what I was also doing at the same time is I was going out and talking to other successful agents in the area and figuring out, what are you doing to be so successful, and keeping customers and keeping them happy. Mm-hmm. And so I would take, bits and pieces from all of these agents, and then also incorporating my vision for my agency. And I pooled all that together, and that was how Dave Peterson Multiple Choice Insurance was born.
Yeah, wow, that's a heck of a story. And going to that, as far as a little bit of insurance, like we won't do too much discussion on it, but what are some of the common things that you'll see, like far as like someone has, hey, there's hail on their roof, maybe a tree is falling in and they gotta come, basically it's like they gotta get their fixes. Like, what's some of the process that you've had to go through to help your clients?
Yeah. So the best part about my past experience is that I can talk to my customers before they file a claim. So what you don't want to have is people filing these claims and building up a claim history. it affects their eligibility and their rates. So I like them to call me and we can figure out what's going on. Sometimes it's a very small amount of damage. They can pay for it out of pocket. Very easy to take care of, but I like to have that discussion with them, and they get a better experience that way because then they really know what to expect through the claims process. I can walk them through it, kind of hold their hand through the whole process. And I think that goes back to my background as an adjuster. I can put my adjuster hat on and say, hey, let's take a look at what's going on and let's help you get through this process, because the reality of it is there's never a convenient time to have an accident, to have a claim.
Right.
So my goal is to make that the most seamless process possible. And I really fall back on my experience as an adjuster to be able to give the insight and the advice to customers to get them through that.
Yeah. No, that's really awesome. And like you mentioned, you talk to them before even filing a claim. I don't know too many people that'll do that or that'll be even willing to do that. So,
well,
tell me if I'm wrong here now.
Well, you're right. And you're going to find that your experience at different agencies will be vastly different. I think what I love about what I do, and to kind of give you a background, so I worked for one particular company, and I sold that company's products. And when I went to go out on my own and start my agency, one of the best decisions that I made is I went into what's called the independent side. And so essentially what that means is I don't work for a particular company. I really work for my customers. So they can come to me, and instead of calling, company A, B, C, D, and E, they can call Dave and Save, right? I'm going to do the legwork for them. And I have a comparative rating tool, so I can essentially pull up all their rates and their coverage, and then I can find the best product, the best plan that fits their needs and their budget. And then I think, what a common complaint is with people is they say, well, hey, my agent set up my coverage, and I never heard from them again. So what I like to do is be very proactive with my customers, and I will frequently follow up with them. Because here's the thing, people's lives change, and their insurance needs to as well. People have kids, they get married, they buy new houses, they start businesses. So what I like to do is follow up with my customers frequently and basically say, hey, what's going on? First of all, can I help you in any way? And secondly, what's changed since we talked last? Because your insurance needs to always fit your current lifestyle. And that's, I think, what separates me from a lot of agents is I'm very proactive in just reaching out and making sure everybody is still good versus that agent where they set your coverage up and then they're an invisible person.
Yeah. Wow, that's good to know. And what would be the difference? Because I'm sure probably somebody would have this question. What would be the difference between going through like somebody that's you where you work for the customers versus just going directly through insurance A, B, or C?
Yeah, so if you call that company, they're going to have one specific product for you, and that's kind of what they push. What I like to do is sit down with that customer, and one of the most basic questions I ask is, what's important to you? So once I can figure out what's important to you, I can find out how to properly protect those things. And the best part about my position is, kind of going back to the whole I work for the customer and not for a particular company, is whatever is important to you and whatever you need to cover, I'm going to have a company that can do that for you and be competitive. So that's really the difference is I have the products and the companies to put your coverage together in a package that's customized for you, and I'm working for you. As a broker, I don't charge any fees. That's just a service that I provide.
Yeah.
So you don't have to call company A, B, C, and D. I take care of that for you.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's actually good to know. I wish I could have learned that a while back. So, and then I definitely gotta ask this as well too. Is that going into life insurance? Without going into specifics, what is the or I should say, why is it important to have life insurance?
Gosh, how much time you got?
Unlimited.
It's arguably the most important thing you'll ever do. People spend so much time, going through their deductibles on their auto policy or Is my house covered properly? And it's surprising that people tend to neglect the coverage for what's most important, which is your family. The reality of it is that
Yeah.
accidents happen, and you need to have a financial plan in place for your family in the event that that does occur. I mean, it's literally the last love letter you write your family, and it's a financial plan so they can maintain their lifestyle. And I have had personal situations where I went to go set someone's coverage up because they'd been putting it off, and life gets in the way, people get busy, and when I called that person, they didn't pick up. The person on the other line said, unfortunately they had passed away. And
Mm.
I blamed myself. I was trying to figure out what could I have done differently, to get that person in here, to get that plan set up, because their family would be in a much different situation. So I'm very passionate about it, and it's one of those things where if somebody wants to talk about it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it does not matter. I will make time for that person, because that's truly how important it is. Your material things versus your family. Family's always going to come first.
Absolutely, because um, I know I know someone who, like, they passed away and they had no coverage at all, and then now it's like, oh crap, now we got to figure out, hey, how we're gonna bury them, or in the case that they couldn't be buried, they just, all right, we have to cremate them and then just let it be. So yeah, which it's tough, it really is. So thank you for
Yeah.
explaining that.
And I'll say too, I think the reason that people don't have those conversations is because they're overwhelmed by all the information, and they've never had anybody to just sit down with them and explain it and simplify it. So that's what I really try to do is understand someone's needs and what they need that plan to accomplish, and I just simplify it for them. And that I think that makes a big difference. And people end up getting their plan in place, and then sure enough, it was that easy. 15 minutes, makes a big difference in a family's life.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's almost like, well, even though it's a little different, kind of like having coverage for your car, because that gets totaled, then what?
Yeah.
Because you're still stuck with, you got to pay that loan back, especially for, and I know, like, in the city of St. Louis, you'll see like a lot of cars that's banged up because they have liability versus the full coverage. So since you're better at that, kind of give a explanation of liability versus the full coverage.
Yeah, you bet. So liability is essentially what is protecting your assets and your paycheck. All right. So if you
Mm-hmm.
injure somebody, if you cause damage to somebody else's property, that liability coverage will kick in, and it'll pay for those damages. It'll pay for those injuries. And that way you are not paying out of pocket for that. And then I guess what you would call the full coverage aspect
Right.
is comprehensive and collision coverage. So that's going to take care of your own vehicle in an auto accident. So if you're driving around in a brand new Tesla or whatever car you want to drive, a Bentley. We were just talking about the Bentleys.
Right. We sure were.
You want to have coverage for that, right? That's your baby, and you have obviously worked hard to go ahead and buy your vehicle, and you want to make sure that that's protected. So having comprehensive and collision coverage gives you the ability to collect back to get those repairs, or in some situations you got to replace the whole car, and that's where that coverage kicks in.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That's very good to know. So get your vehicles covered. No.
Right? Yes. It's very easy.
Exactly. So, as far as your experience, like, getting into networking, because I remember you transitioned out of one due to a little bit of lack, and then you came into our group. Well, what happened there?
So I have been networking for years, and I think the mistake that I made earlier in my career is that I just like to get in front of people and basically say, hey, I'm Dave Peterson, and this is the products that I can sell you, and this is how I can help you. And I think that was a big mistake, because what I've learned now is you have to naturally let those relationships progress, because people really want to know who you are as a person before they know who you are as a business owner. And it's weird in my industry, in the insurance world, when you talk about marketing. Well, the definition of marketing is just getting in front of a potential client. Well, that's literally anybody, right? You need coverage on your car and your motorcycle, and people need home insurance and life insurance and so on. So literally everybody that I talk to could be a potential client. And I was kind of going about it that way, but I learned that, you got to get to know people and let them know who you are, as a person, as a husband, as a father, because once they get to know who you are as a person, that's a direct reflection of the way you run your business. And then the idea is that when you're networking, something that we talk about is building or training your sales force. So the idea is that once you know me and you trust me, if you have a friend who's one night complaining about their insurance, you can say, hey, I know a guy, I want you to call him, he's going to take care of you, and you have all the trust in the world that I'd be able to do that for your friend. And I think that's what networking is all about, is just branding yourself and getting exposure to as many people as possible. And I will say too, I think one of the neat things about networking, at least in my situation, I mean, I'm not just your insurance agent, but if you were to call in and say, hey, Dave, I had a storm over the weekend and my shingles blew off. Do you know a roofer that I can call? Just having this vast network of people that I can call on so I can help my customers and be a resource for them, for all the people that I know and have basically vetted and said, hey, I trust this person, they'll take care of you. So it helps me as a business owner as well with my own customers outside of the insurance realm, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure does. Yeah, so you've definitely had quite the experience, and pretty much what you said about the networking world was that I didn't know that at first either. There was a lot of mistakes that I had to correct and overcome, and just getting to know people and have them as a referral source.
Yep. It makes a big difference. Like, I mean, I got to know you as a person the first time we met. I got to learn about where you come from and what your motivation is and why you do what you do. And I think that, more than the products that you sell or the services that you offer, right, that's more important. Me getting to know who you are.
Absolutely.
And because of that, it's easier for me, to refer you out.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best part about networking.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I definitely love it. So I definitely gotta ask as well too, is that do you service clients like not just in this state but also like around the country as well, or are you mainly just focused in the Missouri area?
So yeah, I do Missouri and Illinois.
Awesome.
I like to be able to kind of know my surroundings, and when people come to me with certain types of properties or types of policies or businesses, I'm familiar with the area. I know how to properly structure that coverage. I know the rules and regulations for the state. So yeah, I stick to Missouri and Illinois because that's what I know best, and that's how I can really best take care of my customers.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good to know. And also to kind of going almost back to the beginning, because you said that you was basically working a regular job and then you quit that. What was the motivation behind quitting that and saying, hey, I want to start my own business?
Yeah, I think it goes back to that entrepreneurial spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So you may not know, but when I was maybe 8 or 9, I opened up my first business with my sister.
Oh, what kind of business was it?
Well, we actually owned a few. We owned a grocery store, a chef school, and a gas station. Now, these were all businesses in my parents' basement.
Yeah.
Right? You can make so much fake money, and your parents can keep buying the same products, but eventually you have to go to school, right? So,
right.
But I think, as kids, we have just this imagination that runs wild, and we have all these visions of what we want to do. And then as we get older, there's just certain circumstances or hobbies or interests that we have, and those will eventually dictate what we do as a profession. So I kind of lost sight of that, for a while. But, when I was telling you earlier about being in that adjuster position and having to tell people no, I really started to think about, what if I could be on the proactive side and I could have these right conversations with people. And then ultimately, the best part and the best way for me to do that was to own my own agency and run my business the way that I saw the best fit for myself and for my customers. Because
Yeah.
when you are the owner, right, you need to make adjustments or whatever you need to do, you can do those right away. It doesn't have to go through a chain of commands. You always get to run your business the way you best see fit. And then I think the best part about that is you're building your own legacy. And then what you're able to do is give back. You can give back to your community. And I think that's just a huge part of being a face in the community as a business owner. And my wife. I don't think you've ever met my wife.
No, I
What
haven't.
a what an awesome example of somebody who created a business out of nothing. And she's just been an extremely good role model to have to show the hustle, the motivation, the hard work it takes to be successful on your own. And so that was a big motivator for me as well, having seen that. So you know what, I want to kind of follow in your footsteps and just be this family of business owners.
Yeah, that's awesome. And by you saying that, basically, it's like, like that entrepreneur spirit that you and I both have, as well as the other folks that I've interviewed, is that when, being an employee, you're basically just there. You're waiting for that, okay, hey, I'm going to get paid in 2 weeks, and then it's like vacation. But there's more to life than just you going out and working, 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 and then it's like, okay, hey, now I get to, look forward to the weekends. It's kind of just like that repeat circle
Yeah.
that you want to escape, and then some people just cannot. We have, but some people cannot.
Yeah, we both lived that. We've talked before. You were kind of in that same cycle. It's repeat over and over the same things, and doing this on your own. Just how incredible is this? It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's an amazing life experience. I really must say, because and not just for me, but for anyone else out there, is that there's only so much time you have on this planet. So when you want to live life the way you want to live, and not by somebody else telling you what to do. So who knows? That's I'd say that's good advice for others, but other people, they just don't see it that way.
Yeah.
Like, especially those have just built a stone wall and can't really knock that down. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
So
mean, if it's easy, everybody would do it. So obviously, it takes a lot of planning, and you have to be able to accept risk, and there's a lot that goes into it. But once you're there, I think people then look back, as I already am, and saying, "Why didn't I do this before?" You know,
yeah, the success that you've accomplished throughout your life. So
exactly.
yeah. And last question I gotta ask is that where does somebody go to find you, contact you?
Well, seriously, if you're old school, you're new school, I've got avenues that you can get a hold of me. I seriously, I love people that just come into my office, and sometimes they'll just throw a pile of papers on my desk and say, make sense of this. I don't know what I have. Please help me. So obviously you can come into my office. I'm in Cottleville, Missouri, so you can stop on by and we'll have a chat. You can call Dave and Save, right? So 636-400-3355. Pick up the phone, give me a call. You can text me if you're more into texting. If you're into social media, you can go to my Facebook business page, go that route. I also have a website, calldaveandsaveinsurance.com. So the cool part about my website, right, you can fill out some basic information. I'll get a message. I'll get back to you. Or if you have all of your paperwork on your computer or in front of you, you can just upload it to my website. I can work up quotes, give you a call back. It is literally that easy. So whatever avenue you want to use to get a hold of me, I make it pretty easy.
Wow, yeah. Now that's definitely old school with more of the new school side.
Yeah.
So yeah, and definitely thank you for allowing me to interview you on Visiblepreneur, because this has been a great one for sure.
Thank you. I love being here, and it's always been a pleasure getting to know you and more about your businesses and what you do. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those out there, remember, we're on Facebook, so find us on there. We're also on YouTube. And for the audio only version, we have the Anchor. So you can look us up there. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Cast has one. I always did say they had one, but I just looked it up yesterday. there's Pocket Casts, and then there's a few others that I can't think of the name of because it kind of just blows past me. But we all know that happens, right? So if you want to be a guest on Visiblepreneur, remember, email visiblepreneur@gmail.com. And if you want to be a guest on there, if you want to get in contact or have any other questions on there, same email, visiblepreneur@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.